Good morning and happy Saturday. My name's Michelle. I'm with Olive and 2U Studios, and I'm here generally every Saturday morning at 9:30 in the morning Eastern Time. If I'm not here live, I'm here recorded. If you happen to be watching live, welcome to you. And if you happen to be watching a little bit later, welcome to you as well. Before we get started, I'm going to invite you to go ahead and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done it, and go ahead and hit that bell so you get notifications and know when I am live, because every now and then I do something crazy and go live at an unexpected time. So if you're not new to the channel and you're used to being here, you know that I'm not in the studio this morning. And you know that we have a special little guest here today. I'm actually in my kitchen, and I'll explain more about that in a few minutes. And this is Sadie. This is my little baby that belongs to me and Jim. Hi, Sadie. She's a little confused about why I'm holding her in the kitchen this morning. We're all doing what we can to stay warm here in Maine, and I'm going to talk about that a little bit more in a minute. But I wanted Sadie to show off her special sweater. I love this little sweater on her because I'll see if I can lift her up a bit. Um, it makes her look like a little sheep, and you don't get the whole effect because trust me, when she's waddling around the house with it on, she really looks like a sheep. Okay, stand up. There you go. A little more. There you go. Say, look at my special sweater. My special sweater. She actually has a little fleece on that she wears underneath here that's more like a sweatshirt, and she wears that all the time. The sweater she puts on if she goes outside under her pea coat, or if it's a little chillier in the house and she's just laying on the couch, don't you, baby? Yeah, I call her Our Lady of the Stinky Breath. She's got dog breath. Um, but Sadie's about 13 years old. Many of you know that she lost her brother earlier this year, but she's doing good. She's a trooper. She's a trooper. And we've had conversations about how she's going to have to go out when they're talking like it could get 30 below. So we're having to take special precautions for her, of course, with her tootsies. And trust me, she loves the snow. She jumps in the snowbanks when she goes for walks. She is not a fan of the ice, however. I think she wants down, Dad. You want to come get her? She's not a fan of the ice at all. And the other night, she was up at 3 in the morning to go out, which is a little unusual for her. Here you go. Got her? There you go. You can go back to go and sleep on the couch. Um, and it was so funny because she usually sleeps up between us in the bed, like between our pillows. And that night, Jim got up and let her out at 3 a.m. And she was like out, did her thing, ran back in, hopped up on the bed, and was like, boom, under the covers for about 20 minutes. And then she finally got back out. She got warm enough. So, welcome, everybody. Jim, everybody's saying hi to you as well because he had a little cameo appearance. Good morning, Katrin and Valera and Deborah and Julie, all the people. I'm not going to get everybody. Tara, Sharon, Kim, Tish, Lydia, tons of people. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I'm so glad you're here this morning. So, we're in the kitchen because it's freaking cold upstairs in the studio. I think the last time Jim looked, it was in the 50s. And I thought, we typically heat that for a couple of hours before I have to go up in the winter. And I thought this morning, you know what? It's our furnace is going to be struggling through these temperatures a little bit. And so I thought, I'll just do it downstairs where it's warm and cozy. So welcome to my kitchen. I hope you don't mind. But we're here and I am learning. I talked a little bit about this last week. I am learning the benefits of all the cozy things that I've knit over the years that I didn't have a lot of use for previously. And for instance, today I'm wearing a cowl in the house because this sweater is not a turtleneck. Thank you. He just brought me tea, y'all. Isn't he wonderful? Um, I'm because this sweater is just a crew neck. And yes, I've got shirts on underneath it. I look like I'm an honorary clergy member. But so I thought, I'm going to throw a cowl on because that'll keep my neck warm and keep the heat in. And it absolutely does. And I don't mind wearing a cowl in the house. It's cozy. I love Turtlenecks, y'all have heard me go on about that ad nauseum for a few years now. I love a turtleneck. I don't mind things up around my neck, and this is actually rather loose, as you can see, and it keeps me warm. So it works out really well. Of course, we've got, blankets on the couch and all the things to stay warm, but we're pretty cozy. You can see I've got a flame lit back here. We use our oil hurricane lamps. We've had them for years in my family because of actual hurricanes in Florida. But here, they actually generate a little bit of heat. We're very careful with them and all those sorts of things, but they generate heat. And I'll tell you what generates a lot of heat and I typically use as a heater is Sadie. If you just got here, you missed seeing our little girl Sadie, our doggie. She was up here with her sweater on, but she generates a lot of body heat. So laying in bed at night or sitting on the couch knitting, her up against me, which she often wants to be. That's how dogs hug, they like back up against you. And all of that body heat benefits me or Jim, depending on who's holding her at the moment. So don't underestimate the benefit of having a pet in ways other than companionship because their heat is really, really helpful during the winter. So, we're going to talk about knitting today. We're going to talk about yarn today. We're going to talk about a trip today. And I'm going to talk about some other things about living in Maine because, as you know, moving up here in April, this is our first real winter living here. And let me just say, we're learning all the things. We knew that it would be a challenge. We knew that there would be a learning curve to moving here, and it is. And and there is a learning curve, but so far we love it. This is there've been a couple storms per se, but I think this is the most significant, this nor'easter as they call it, that is coming. Although, come to think of it, I don't even know that it's a nor'easter because it's actually coming from the west. So I don't know. If you're from Maine or New England, you can correct me. I've heard people refer to it as a nor'easter, but I don't know if that makes sense to me. So be patient with me. I am going to sip my tea as we chat this morning. That's what friends do when they sit and chat, right? They sit and chat and sip tea. It's actually pretty cozy in here right now. It's about 67 or 68 degrees. So I am not cold at all at the moment, but a little hot tea really helps to do the trick as well. So I know so many of you, EWE and YOU, are also in the path of this storm. This is really going to be sweeping across the country and Jim, who is my own private meteorologist that I live with, was showing me this morning the path and how it's already starting its trek. We've got Yarny in Dallas Fort Worth area. We've got Yarny in Oklahoma, all sorts of areas that are going to be impacted. South Carolina, North Carolina, all those areas. So please know that our hope for you is that you stay cozy and safe. It is the perfect weekend for sipping tea and knitting or crocheting up a storm. And if you happen not to be in the path, I don't know how much Florida is going to get, but if you're not in the path, knit and sip tea in solidarity with the people who are, because it is a huge, what I see today, was it like 200 million people or something that's going to be impacted? It was an enormous number of people. So stitch in solidarity, whether you slow stitch or you knit or you crochet or you weave or any of the things that you do that in solidarity this weekend and just enjoy a cozy weekend at home. And I'm so honored that you've decided to spend a little bit of your Saturday with me today in my kitchen. Why not? Okay, so let's get going. I'm going to lead with some really good news that you might appreciate, and then I'm going to tell you the reason for it. So, we have got our Shelley base and our Angelou base. Shelley is worsted, and Angelou is not DK, it's sport weight. Sorry, I misspoke there for a moment. So our Shelley and our Angelou yarns right now are 40% off. All of the colorways that are in the shop, you don't have to have a code to take advantage of that. You just pop it in your cart and you are set for 40% off. So we sold out of the beast last week. That was what was happening there. We are not going out of business. I'm trying to clear a lot of inventory for a specific reason. But some of you have asked questions. You're like selling a lot of yarn at a discount. What's going on? We're not going out of business, I assure you. I've just got new plans going forward. And so I'm trying to clear out some stuff off the shelves. We are not going out of business. So all is well at Olive and To You, just shifting some things a little bit. And I've shared a little bit of that with you, and more will be coming in the days to come. But take advantage of it. It's a great weekend to stock your stash for 40% off of our Angelou, which is our sport weight, and our Shelley, which is our worsted weight yarn. So right now the links are down below here in the show notes. You can always just go on the website and search those terms or look in your newsletter. And if you're not signed up for the newsletter, why not? Why not? It costs you nothing. You can go onto our website and put in your email address. You can even sign up for text messages. And I don't want to speak out of term. I think you get a 10% coupon off for your very first order as well when you do that. And then every single week on Saturday mornings, I send out a newsletter that tells you sort of what's new in the shop that week or what's going on. And it's a great way to stay in touch with what's happening at Olive and Two Studios so you don't miss anything exciting because there's always something going on. One of the things that's going to be going on soon is, and I talked about this last week, we are planning an upcoming trip to Shetland and Orkney. Now, we have done 3 trips in the past, taking Yarny Ewes over to Scotland with a fiber focus. The neat thing about these trips are they have a distinct fiber focus. We see yarn, we see sheep, we do all those sorts of things. Sometimes we learn a bit about the yarn and sheep industry there in Scotland. And but at the same time, there's enough to keep spouses or non-knitting, non-stitching significant others engaged as well. So we typically have several couples who go, but it's always a wonderful mix because we have couples, but we've got plenties. Is that a new word I just invented? Plenties? We have plenty of single people as well, so that if you're single, you don't feel like you're the lone guy out, and if you're with a couple, you've got plenty of couples to hang with as well. And everybody is gets along so well, they're so collegial and friendly. So we've typically done that, and we've usually taken between 25 and 30 people over at a pop. Our Shetland and Orkney trip is something that's been requested for a long time. Everybody's wanted to go to Shetland and Orkney, including yours truly, but it is logistically a slightly different trip. There are a couple of flights we have to use to get over from the mainland to the islands. The hotels are fewer, the beds are fewer in the hotels, and that sort of thing. So it's logistically a slightly more challenging trip than the one that we usually do straight over to the mainland of Scotland. For that reason, we've decided to limit the number of people that we're going to be taking over. There's so many reasons why that is. The good news is a smaller group means a slightly more intimate group. And so we all get to know each other a little bit better and that sort of thing. So I'm shooting for around 15 people. We are 3/4 of the way booked at this point. So if you are interested in going, I need to know as soon as possible because we have a minimum number of people that we need to take in order to make the trip happen at the cost that we have quoted. If we have less than that number of people, then we probably won't go because the price will end up going up by probably about $1,200 per person. That's something of a steep price hike. So if we don't hit that minimum, we won't be able to go this time. That doesn't mean we may not plan another one, but at least at this point, we wouldn't be able to take it. So we need to know really quickly. I said last week that I needed to know by a certain date, and I had that information that I needed to make one decision about the trip, but we weren't yet at the minimum. So I do need to know as quickly as possible because early this week is when the decision has to be made about whether or not we're actually going to have the minimum that we need to go. So I say that to say I need to know as soon as possible. And the way that you can let me know whether or not you want to go is by paying your deposit on our website. Now, the link is down below here in the show notes. It's a $500 deposit. And there's some details there about the trip to help you make your decision. And of course, if you've traveled with us before, you will know that more information is forthcoming. We give you more details about the itinerary and that sort of thing. But I can tell you, we will be going to the mainland of Scotland, we will be traveling to Shetland, and we will be traveling to Orkney. So let me know as soon as possible. I know some of you have gotten in touch and said, oh gosh, I really want to go, but I've got a conflict. I'm taking another trip or something's happening with a child or a grandchild that I can't miss. Somebody has a wedding going on, and that sort of thing. So that is happening. So do let me know as soon as possible. Valera's asking me when the discount will become active for Shelley and Angelou. It is supposed to be active now. So let me know if you've got something that's not active on either in Shelley or Angelou, and I will fix it because it's supposed to be active. I double checked that before we went live. But let me know, Valera. I'll make sure it happens. Okay, so that is that. Let me actually double check just live here and see what's going on with that because I don't want you to have a problem with that discount. Let me take a quick look see. Yeah, it says it's active on Shelley, Angelou, those two areas. So, and you're not limited to the number of times you can use it, and your um, Ship Club discount should work. Somebody is saying it's not working for her for either base. That's so interesting. Okay, let's see what's going on here, shall we? That's very odd. I want that to work, so give me just a minute since we're just chatting here in my kitchen, and let me see what's happening. So I'm going to put it in my cart. Going to add to my cart. And I'm going to try to check out. Let's see here. It's there. Hmm, that is very interesting. You're right. It's not showing up, even though it tells me that it is supposed to show up. Let me see here. Hmm. Okay. Well, I will find out what's happening with that because it's telling me right here that it's on and it's happening. And let's see here. It is 40% off, no minimum purchase requirement. And it is on those areas. And it should be all of that. Let's see here. Hmm. Ah, it looks like it was not an automatic one, that I made a mistake there. So I will put the code in here for now, and then I'll go back through and make it. Oh, I love it. Everybody's checking it out. That's awesome. That may be why. Okay, I get it. I'm going to tell you the code. That was my mistake. And then I will make it automatic after the podcast. So thank you for catching me. That's the code, all capitals. I apologize. That was my mistake. Y'all, I tell you, I'm over 50 and I make mistakes all the time. So I thought that I set it up as an automatic discount and apparently I didn't tick the box. So I apologize. Thank you for letting me know that. That's the code. Now, if you enter the code and then after the podcast, I'll go in immediately and fix it so it's automatic. So there's that. All right. So we've talked about Shetland and Orkney and Scotland. That is, so that's all set. You know what to do about that. We've talked about Angelou and Shelley, and we've sort of fixed that. So again, my apologies for that. I want to talk really quickly about my whip. Because we've been in the middle of storm prep, I don't have a formal whip segment for you, but there are some issues that have come up with my current whip. And so I wanted to talk about it and give you some thoughts and ideas about some things to think about when you're working on a project. So you may recall that I'm doing the king salmon sweater. There it is. You can't see it. Let me get a little closer there. There's the king salmon sweater. It looks different on me because I'm bigger than she is. But there it is, the king salmon. And I have finished the color work and I'm almost down to the ribbing. I tried it on last night. If you're in our Yarny Use Facebook group, you may have seen the photo where I tried it on, and if you've been watching very long, you know that I'm not a fan of gauge swatching. I don't like to do that because I'm impatient, but it's always smart to do it. Do as I say, not as I do. And I don't often try on my sweaters for length or for anything else. Just again, I'm impatient and I can't be bothered. Has that bit me in the hind end occasionally? Yes. Yes, it has. But I'm always willing to take that risk. With this particular sweater, I'm going to show it to you here. There it is. With this particular sweater, it has a deep color work yoke. So you can see I'm wearing a color work right now that's not as deep of a yoke, but this one is a pretty deep yoke in terms of the color work. Okay. And the instructions in the sweater, once you get done with the yoke, it recommends that you knit for 8 inches from the underarm where you've separated the sleeves down to get the length that you want. And then, of course, you start the ribbing because this does have ribbing on the sleeves, I believe, and the hem. So I finished the color work. I knit down for exactly the 8 inches, and I kept holding it up to myself. And I was like, yeah, that just doesn't seem long enough. And I have, because it has bit me in the hind end before, I have knit a couple sweaters that were a little shorter than I would have liked. Not a big deal. I typically wear a tank or something under them to give me the extra length that I want, but I would rather not have to do that. So I went ahead last night and put this on waste yarn and tried it on and put that picture. And I realized that it needed a bit more length. So, number one, I recommend you do that. Number two, I did not have my hands on my barber cords or my silicone stitch savers. And so I ended up using a tapestry needle and a piece of waste yarn to run through all those stitches. Now, that is absolutely a valid way to do that. As long as you've got your live stitches on something, you're good to go. I will never put it on waste yarn again. Let me just say, I will either put it on the leather cords from Coco Knits, or I will get my barber cords. I need to find those. So I've got those, the silicone, and put it on. It was such a pain to go through with the tapestry needle. It wasn't hard to pick up the stitches. That wasn't difficult because they were on the needles and the cable. What was difficult was going back through with the needle after I tried it on and picking them up with the needle. That was a little trickier because those stitches started to cut because I used a fingering weight yarn, high contrast, so I could see where it was, obviously. But it was a little trickier because of the fingering weight yarn. It didn't have the same width as this worsted weight yarn, and the stitches started to kind of recede a little bit. They didn't fall, obviously, because they were held on the waste yarn, but they started to kind of recede and get a little tight around that waste yarn. And it took me probably a good 40 minutes to pick those stitches back up. I am impatient, so don't do that. Use barber cords, use silicone stitch savers, use leather cords, use another cable. That's my number one tip for doing that. Like I said, I don't do it often, and I will try my hardest to never do it with that again. But now I have to tell you, I was really glad that I tried it on because I realized I needed a little bit more length, not a lot, but a little bit more length. And the picture I took wasn't great because I was just quickly trying it on. And because it is cold here in Maine, I had on a t shirt and then a merino long sleeve undershirt underneath it. So you saw all these extra clothes. But I was glad to try it on with those because typically in the winter here, when I'm going to be wearing a sweater like this, that's what I have on underneath it to insulate myself. And I was really tickled because, again, remember, I don't always try them on. I was really tickled that I had selected the right size because this sweater is supposed to be roomy I forget how much ease she recommends, but it's a pretty generous amount. Let me look really quickly and see if oh, there's a better close-up picture of it. Um, Let me see what the ease actually is. Let's see here. I do not see it on here, but it is supposed to be a significant amount of ease. So this one gives me plenty of ease and it gives me plenty of space to layer up underneath it because I've learned that layering is definitely the trick to make sure that you're really warm. So plus once I wash it, and I block it and I lay it out, it's going to grow a bit. It's gonna, excuse me, stretch a little bit, lengthen a little bit, widen a little bit, and probably be just absolutely perfect. So I'm super chuffed. I'm very excited. I am looking forward to finishing it. And as an added bonus, Jim, my husband, has been saying, "I really like that." He made a funny joke last night. Because I came out so he could see it on me, and he's like, "It looks like you had a really good day on the boat fishing, and you didn't have anywhere to put your fish, so you just like put them over your shoulders." I was like, "Yeah, I still don't know what possessed me to choose like a fish sweater, but I did, and I like it." So I asked him, I was like, "Do you want one? Because I could make him one in blue or something." So he hasn't committed yet. If he's smart, he will, because it'll be the first sweater I will have knitted him. He ought to jump on the bandwagon while the iron's hot. Um, but yeah, I'm super tickled. You might remember that I used so this is a worsted weight sweater. I used our Shelley yarn, except for the contrast color, I used 3 strands of fingering weight yarn in 3 different colors, and that's how I got this fun sort of variegated look to the color work, and I'm really happy about it. I will say I was hoping it would turn out a little more of a green color, and I see it more as a like a golden color from a distance. I think it reads more gold from a distance, but I'm not unhappy with that. You still get the green, and I really like it. And I have to tell you again, I've said this before, it's so funny because I can see the fish when I was wearing it last night in the mirror, or when I hold it up, I can see them. But wow, when I hold it up on here in the camera, I really see them super clearly. So, super chuffed about that. I do use the leather cocoa knits holders here for the sleeves. I had split the one that they give you for the waist to use it for sleeves, so I get 2 more because I don't often try them on, so I thought I would never need them. But I love, love, love these leather stitch holders from Cocoa Knits. They give you the coolest needle to pick things up and such, and it's wonderful. So I think Julie is reminding me here that Kim had made a comment that she likes to try it on and raise her arms to be sure it isn't too short, and that is a great way to do that. Absolutely, and I did that in the mirror, kinda did that, and, it was a lot of fun. So oh, I love what Dion's saying. "You need to find a sweater pattern with bread on it for Jim, y'all could be the loaves and fishes." That's hysterical. I like it. Did you hear that, Jim? Loaves and fishes, if I make you a sweater with loaves on it. So that is my king salmon sweater. Now, I have to tell you, I was a little disappointed this week because I showed you last week, I'm gonna show you again, this herring hat pattern that I am completely enamored with. I love it so much. And this is in black and white. If you go on Ravelry and look at this pattern and check out the projects, oh my gosh, there are so many cool color combinations. And one of the things I love about this hat is that you don't put a pom pom on it. The herring's tails become like your little tassels, your little pom pom. And I think that's super cute. I really, really, really hoped to get this cast on for you this week, but I did not. In fact, I meant to bring the yarn over from there to show you what the yarn was that I chose, but I didn't bring that either. I think I may have shown that last week, but I'm still a little iffy about my yarn choices. But so I told Jim I'm gonna make him one of these and me one of these, but we're gonna all cross our fingers that I can get through this pattern because I do listen to good knitting advice sometimes, not all the time, but when I do, I listen. This is not what I would call a social knitting pattern. I'm not going to show you the whole pattern, obviously, but there are a few little cable stitches, but they're not. It's like one stitch at a time. But the entire pattern reads like this. This is an 11-page pattern, if my memory serves me, and every row is basically different. So this is not what I would call social knitting. But as I mentioned last week, and we've talked about this before, I think a really good tact for knitting, I'm trying to make sure I don't get everything out of order here, is to have one project on the go that is social knitting that you can chat with friends while you're knitting it up and you don't have to really think about it. And then it's nice to have another project that's a bit more complex or demands a little bit more of your attention. So for me, now we're in the social knitting stage of my king salmon sweater. So I can cast on my herring hat. I take this to church on Wednesday mornings for Bible study and sit there and knit on it around the table while we're doing Bible study. The herring hat, that's never going to be that pattern. So I'm anxious to get one of those cast on as well. Now, if you're in the Yarny Use again, you saw my rather dubious photo this week of me in a hat. It's a hat that kind of matches this cow. And beanies just don't look good on me because I've got that short hair. And I know so many of you commented, thank you very much for your recommendation. Some of you said, oh, you liked it. Some of you said, you weren't so sure, maybe something a little longer that would cover my ears would look a little better. And I loved what one Yarny you said. I like cracked up and laughed out loud because I loved her candor because she was so right. I had said in the post, yeah, something like, these hats look terrible on me with my short hair. And I'm not going to call out her name, but one of our Yarny Yous just commented, agree. Thank you. Thank you. Because I agree too. That's why I said it. I wasn't fishing for compliments. I just know they look terrible on me. So I have to find a hat that will work better for me. The herring hat is probably not it, but I liked it so much that I'm going to make it anyway, and I'm going to wear it. It's not the end of the world. Okay, Mary Nelson's correcting me. She said, "Oh no, Dunedin was every row pattern. Every row was different." So there's that. Okay, if you've been around several years, you know the reference to the Dunedin. It's a beautiful pattern. Lucy Haig, great pattern, beautiful Celtic cables. Yeah, we tried it as our very first knit along. That was not a good idea for newish knitters. Lorianne is suggesting I need a brimmed hat or a cloche style knitted hat. Yes. And I showed, I think, a couple weeks ago, sort of the 1920s cloche style that I have that's plaid, but it's not knitted. And yeah, there are some days, the day that I showed the picture, I was actually headed out to the farm stand and I didn't care. I wore it anyway because I just needed my head covered. Sometimes, as some of you reminded me, it's way more about safety and staying warm than it is about cuteness. So there is that. There is that. Mary's asking, why does short hair matter under a hat? I don't know. It matters for aesthetics to me. I don't want to look like a bald headed gnome. That's just me. So the quest continues for a hat that that will look decent on me. But it's okay. I'm down for it. It's an adventure and I'm okay with that. So while we're talking about knitted things, I wanted to mention this cow. So I made this cow in 2019, just before Jim and I went over to Scotland together. It was his first time over. It was not my first time. Um, but before we went over, so I would be cozy. Really simple cow, super simple, but I can't remember the name of it. And I was really disgruntled this morning when I was looking in my Ravelry library for it because I thought, well, I knitted it in 2019. I got a Ravelry account around 2014 or 2015 when I started crocheting again. Surely it was in there because I can't think of anywhere else I would have gotten the pattern. So I spent time going, first of all, I searched in my Ravelry library. I just did the search term cow to see if I could find it. Nothing came up. I mean, things came up, but not this particular pattern. And then I decided because your library, unless you change it, is set up, chronologically. So then I went through chronologically, basically page by page, specifically looking at like the 2018, 2019 years to see if I could find it. I never did find it. I'm bound and determined to figure out what the name of this pattern is. As you know, down below in the show notes, I typically try to list all of the patterns that we talk about on the podcast. And then I try to give you links to all those patterns as well to make it easy. But I couldn't find it. So I don't remember what this was called. But something occurred to me today. I had a moment of epiphany while I was going through my Ravelry page, and I want to share it with you. Before I do, I'm going to mention the thing that we talk about all the time, which is it's always a really, really, really good idea to look at the projects that people do in the pattern. So you find a pattern that you love. So, for example, the herring hat that I plan to cast on. I've spent time going through the pages and looking at the projects that people have posted. You get so many ideas about not just color selection, but that's one important thing. You can see the color selections that people have made. Low contrast versus high contrast. Sometimes people will take a really basic sweater pattern and add stripes or add other little detail elements. So it really helps to expand your mind to what may be possible with a particular pattern. The other thing that it does is it also gives you an idea of things in the pattern that might make you go, or things that might present what appears to be a roadblock. Maybe you don't interpret something exactly the same way, or perhaps somebody says, "Well, I didn't like the neck, and so I did this to modify it." I think that's all really, really good information. And I think you can use it two ways. I really highly recommend that you go through some of those projects before you even purchase the pattern. It gives you an idea of ways that you might make it your own. And it also gives you a heads up regarding the technical difficulty or any particular stitches. The designer typically lists some of that in the sort of synopsis of the pattern on Ravelry. But people who have knit or crocheted it before are going to give you real world, boots on the ground insight as to what they encountered when they knit it. And I think that's super, super helpful. The other thing is that if people wear the item in photos that they post, it gives you a sense of how it might look on your body. So if you've got 50 people who have posted photographs of them wearing, say, the king salmon sweater, a particular sweater, then I can look at those and kind of flip through and find somebody who has a similar body shape to me. And then I get a better sense of how it might look on me or what modifications I might need to add to it to make it suit my body a little bit better, right? I'm a big girl. I'm an older woman. I'm in my mid 50s. The king salmon sweater on me is not going to look the same that it's going to look on a size 4 25-year-old. It just isn't. I've had a baby. I'm older. I'm heavier. I'm built differently. And so looking at somebody who more closely matches my age, my body style, even my coloring, even though color choices may be different, it can give you a sense of how something's going to look on it. So I think sometimes Ravelry is a treasure box of information. But like with any treasure box, you have to actually like open the lid to get to the good stuff inside. So I recommend that instead of just, it's easy to just mindlessly go through Ravelry and flip through patterns. Lord knows I do it all the time. I mean, Ravelry is a wonderful rabbit hole, but I think it can be more beneficial when we do those things and take time to really look at those. Okay, but that's not the real trick I was going to get to. And what I'm about to say is like so tautologous. It's so duh. It's going to be such a duh moment, but I'm a little slow on the uptake sometimes. And so I had this epiphany. I was going through something like 15 pages in my library today of patterns that I've purchased. or free patterns that I've added to my library. Most of them, to be fair, are probably purchase patterns. First thing that struck me is over the years, since 2014 or 2015, so around 10-ish years since I have been on Ravelry, I've invested a fair amount of money in pattern purchases. Have I knit all of those? No. And some of those are crochet patterns as well because I was a crocheter before I was a knitter. I have not stitched all those patterns. But going through those today, I like felt this surge of energy because they're in my library for a reason. I liked them. I wanted to stitch them at some point. Y'all, I am the worst. I need a hat pattern. I want to find a hat pattern. Let me go to Ravelry and look. Do I look in my library first? No, I don't. And I think that's a really good discipline to start. Start in your library. Take some time today, if you have not perused your Ravelry library for a while, and go through it. I saw so many projects that I want to knit. I mean, there's no surprise there. I either bought the pattern or added it to my library previously for a reason because I liked it. I mean, your taste can change over time. I get that. But I've got like a whole host of things there that I've already spent money on, I've already invested in that I want to knit. So I'm going to spend some time and go through and kind of reorder those or set myself up a list for patterns now that I want to visit prior to purchasing another. I think it's a good thing to do. It's something you've already invested in. Now, many of you may be much more disciplined than me. And if you can raise your hand and say, "Oh, I always do that. Oh, I have gone through and um, already I discipline myself. So if I buy something, I knit it and I don't buy anything else until I knit it. More power to ya. Yay. Raise the roof for you. That ain't me." So this is a reminder to me and all the Michelle lookalikes in some way. If you do that too, I challenge you to spend your time in Ravelry today or this weekend while the storm is happening and while you can't go out. Spend some time looking at your library, reassessing the patterns that you've previously purchased and that you want to be able to stitch up and focus on those first. Hey, better, I'm not just saying this selfishly, I'm being honest. I would rather be able to spend more money on yarn for my stash with some really cool new yarn than buy yet more patterns when there are tons in my library that I already want to stitch up, right? So pick a pattern, buy some yarn that you love to stitch it up, and you haven't spent the 5, 6, $12 on a new pattern. So I don't know. I know that's such a duh moment, but I just had to mention it because it was such an epiphany to me today. I can't wait to spend more time this weekend going through and deciding what's next for me. I showed you the hydrangea sweater last week by Eleanor Mortensen that I want to knit up. I've purchased that pattern now. I've got to decide on my color choices. It is a fingering weight pattern, and that does give me a little bit of pause because those take longer. Those are much more of an investment in time. I mean, worsted weight, these bad boys knit up pretty quick. So, but I do wanna do the Eleanor Mortensen hydrangea sweater at some point. And I've purchased the herring hat, and that is definitely in my physical queue to get done because I really, really want to do that. But I'm gonna spend some time this weekend while it's cold outside, while I'm sipping some tea, and make some notes about some decisions of patterns that I'm going to stitch up next. Speaking of notes, I have to show you. I shared before that Sherry and Terry had sent us this wonderful Scotland box for 3 months, which was a wonderful Christmas gift. And one of the items that we got in it this past month is their items are so perfect, but I love this. Check out this little tweed notebook. And I am becoming a user of notebooks lately. I'm disciplining myself to write all the things down through the encouragement of a dear friend. And I just had to show you this notebook was so perfect this month because it's pocket size and it can go in my purse and I can carry it and make notes in it. So thank you to Sherry and Terry. That was one of the items that came this month. And I have to show you, while I was in Florida a couple weeks ago, I picked up one of our Attenti Tutto totes and I decided to bring it home with me. And it's perfect. How perfect is that notebook to go in this Attenti tote. Now we have a few of these totes left. I don't know that we have any in this exact pattern. This is, of course, this beautiful plaid, this tartan, but these are great tote bags. I grabbed it because I needed another bag for the plane. And I love these Tudo totes. It was the first chance I got I, my let me try that sentence again. It was the first time I had a chance to get my hands on one in person, even though I knew that I loved them. And it's a great tote bag. And of course, it's a Tenti, so it'll last forever. Really good workmanship. But that's what I actually carried my project in on the plane when I took my king salmon sweater. So my little tweed notebook's going to pop right in there, and I'll be making some notes in that. So I thought that was really, really cool. Okay, I want to go back and revisit the islands for just a moment because the upcoming Fiberside chat on February 1st, right around the corner, is Erica Oberg. Erica Oberg, and she's going to be talking about her brand new book, and it is Coastal Landscapes, Islands and Inspirations, and she's going to be talking about Shetland in it and probably on the Fiberside chat as well, because Shetland is in her book among some other islands. So, how good was that perfect timing? So Erica Oberg, Fiberside Chats, the link is down below in the show notes to register. When you register, I always appreciate it when you choose Olive and 2U Studios as your local yarn shop. There's a little drop down menu, and there's probably, I don't know, 20 or 30 yarn shops mentioned there. We start with an O, so it's about 3/4 of the way down. If you will go ahead and scroll down to that and choose us, it helps us out. We make a few dollars on every registration, not a lot, but it really does help to support the channel and help to support the work that we do at Olive and 2U Studios. And the only way that I can continue to be here on Saturdays and that I'm able to continue with Olive and 2U Studios is through your purchases and through your um, support of things like Fiberside Chat and those sort of things. I'm also going to be putting up some of my Amazon affiliate links again in the near future. I'll let you know all about that for things that I recommend that you can do on Amazon. And as an Amazon affiliate, I'll be able to earn a small commission through those purchases as well, through no additional charge to you. So all of those avenues help me be able to continue to do what I do and to be a part of this community. And I'm always so, so grateful to you all for this wonderful community that you have built in the Yarny Use. If you haven't joined the Yarny Use already, we're on Facebook. Super simple. The link is down below here in the show notes as well. Join. There's no politics, no drama, really. That's one of the wonderful things about this group. And like our trip to Scotland, no politics, no drama. There's never been an issue. And it's just a supportive environment. Everybody gets along great. And I'm so, so grateful for that. So grateful. All right. Whew. Did I get through my list? That was a lot of knitting talk. Our propane delivery truck just pulled up to top up our propane tanks. They're expecting a lot of power outages with this storm. We do have a whole house generator, but if we run out the propane, then we won't have the generator. So I said to Jim yesterday, I hope they're going to come around and top up the tanks. And they just pulled up. I was able to see them, and Jim's like, they're here. They're here. So I'm wearing my dark water sweater today, by the way. I don't know if I mentioned that. This is a Jen Steingast pattern. You can kind of see the yoke there. Not as deep of a yoke as on the King Salmon, but this is a fingering weight sweater. And yeah, I'm happy to have all the hand knits. So we might do some fun things in the Yarny Use during the snowstorm. Sherry and Terry were supposed to be going away early this week for a medical procedure one of them was having, but the storm might have thrown a little kink into that. I was like, should we do a special yarn colorway for the storm? I don't know, but I'm waiting to hear what ends up happening with them and their travel as they're supposed to head out, but it might be postponed. So stay tuned in the Yarny Use. You never know. We might have a special opportunity for a storm colorway. I was hoping, I better be careful what I say on camera. I was hoping that if they dyed it up, we might get them to go live from the dye studio and show us what they were doing, but we'll see what happens. We'll see how that goes for them. Yes. Dion said, please check in the Yarny U so we'll know you're okay. Absolutely. Please do that. Let's all stay in touch through this. Let's share our experiences, but know that we want everybody to stay safe, stay warm. We've been told here, let's see, it was in the negative this morning, and it was or was it 5 degrees when we woke up, something like that. Um, the low today I think is supposed to be -8, but on Sunday we've been told it could get down to the -30s. That's not with wind chill. That's actual temperature. So it's going to be pretty cold here. And I intend to sit on the couch and be cozy and get some knitting done and have Sadie cozy up to me. And yeah, so stay safe, stay, stay safe, stay safe, stay warm, stay cozy, stay in touch in the Yarny Use. Show us what you're knitting or crocheting up. We want to see it all. Now, use the code right now. I'm going to go in after the podcast and change it where you won't need a code for that 40% off. Again, my boo boo, my apologies. I'm always like smack my head. I'm always doing something crazy. So, you guys keep me straight, and I'm very, very grateful for that. All right, everybody, have a great week. I'm Michelle with Olive and 2U Studios, and I will see you in the Yarny Use. Take care. Have a great day. Stay cozy.